Well, hello there, and welcome to my second stream on the platform. And today we'll do a little bit of everything. We'll talk about the Paris Paris leg of the Grand Chess Tour, which just finished about a week ago, and in which I played due to unforeseen circumstances. I was drafted late as a replacement for Vishay, who audio too low is a bit of an issue. Hang on a second, let me see if I can fix that. And I was about to, as usual, mention, please tell me about the potential audio issues or anything like that, because we need to figure out if I need to adjust the settings. So yeah, please let me know if the the audio levels need to be adjusted. So we'll start by talking about Paris a little bit, and then we'll do. I could do that, but not a lot closer. I'm basically about to put my eye on it, but I could get the levels slightly higher. Hang on a second. Tech Peter is on the case here. Just 1 second. This should be a bit louder now. Might be too loud. Let me know if that's better or worse. I do sound a bit strange because I've had some weird voice issues for about a month and a half now, and those aren't going away. So apologies for that. So yeah, we'll start by talking about Paris, and then we'll explore the content a little bit on the Kasparovchess website. I'll do some puzzles. People trying to challenge me right now aren't really doing it right, because Banter will be the very, very last portion of the stream, and the challenges do expire instantly. So that doesn't really do very much right now, apart from popping up on my screen and giving me a little bit of vertigo. So please wait until the banter part of the stream begins. So let's start by actually no. I wanted to say let's start by talking about Paris, but actually, there's a topic I wanted to touch on for a moment before we start talking about Paris today. Some very, very sad news were announced in Moscow. Yuri Dokhoyan, who was Garry Kasparov's coach for a very long period in the 90s and 2000s, died, and he coached the Russian national teams for a number of years, and was still coaching even now. And this is desperately sad news. He was an incredibly important person in Russian chess, and he was, as I mentioned, he was Gary's personal coach for a big number of years, and played a big part in Gary's work on chess, and then continued working with both the men's and the women's teams. And I played under him for the Russian national team. He was a very intense man. He cared a very, very great deal about the team doing well, and playing under him was kind of challenging because of how much he cared, and that sort of passed on to you. But I think it's infinitely preferable to have someone in charge of the national team caring rather than not caring. He was also a very interesting man in person. He had very surprising music tastes. I was at some point absolutely stunned to find out that he was infinitely more versed in, let's say, the Russian hip-hop scene than, for instance, I am. So yeah, my condolences to the family, and it is a very, very big loss. I just wanted to talk about Yuri a little bit, because as I said, he was a very, very central figure to the Russian chess scene in the last many, many years. I played him once, 30 years ago. He absolutely destroyed me on the boards. A very strong player when he was still playing as well. Yeah, let's talk about Paris a little bit. Paris was the second stage of the Grand Chess Tour. Most of you probably have been watching, and you know how it all shaked out. But it was an interesting tournament, and an interesting tournament for me personally, of course, because I haven't really played much chess in the last year and a half. But also an interesting tournament to watch as a spectator, I suspect. Even if it, from a purely sporting intrigue point of view, it wasn't very intriguing because of just how much two people ran away with it. For those of you who may not have seen the results, I will put the standings up for a second there. So yeah, this is how the tournament ended. Wesley So convincingly won both the rapid and the blitz portion, and Jan Nepomniachtchi was the only one who ran him remotely close. The tournament very quickly became a two-horse race with everybody else really fighting for third, and the fight for third was actually quite intense. I think if we perhaps bring this up a little bit, again, as you can see here, in the final standings in the score column, only a point and a half separates third place from the eighth place here, and one result would have turned all of this completely on its head. So, as they say in a B tournament, so to speak, like there's an A tournament in which Wesley and Jan played, and there was also kind of a B tournament where people were competing for third. And the B tournament was very, very exciting and was decided only towards the very end. And apart from these standings, we also have point standings for Paris, which I will also bring up on screen for a second. These are the GCT standings points which were earned by participants. As you can see, the wild cards did quite well. Jan Nepomniachtchi, who was originally drafted as a main tour player, and then he qualified for the World Championship title match, and his status in the tour was adjusted, and he's only really playing this and the Croatian leg. Jan did extremely well, and Alireza Firuza, who I think many people I disappeared. Many people, I'm sure, were very excited to watch Alireza as usual. They did quite well, and Wesley came away the overall winner. And the standings in the GCT altogether is something that I also have a graphic for. People complaining about audio. I made it louder. If it's still like. There are some complaints, but I don't know if we have the volume of complaints, which is enough for me to start, really adjusting volume upwards, because it feels like I might, destroy some eardrums for people who aren't really currently struggling from low volume. So there has to be some kind of balance. But I am monitoring this situation. I'm really not away from the mic. You can see the mic on screen. It's about 10 centimeters from my face. I'm about as not far away from mic as it is possible for me to be without rearranging this entire desk setup. Audio is as good as your Grunfeld. I have a feeling this is a backhanded compliment. I have a feeling this is not meant as a compliment at all, but we'll see. Yeah, so the combined settings look like this. And keep in mind that these are the 9 people who are playing sort of the main tour. There's a lot of wild cards in the tour, and the next event in Zagreb actually has a fantastic amount of wild cards. We'll get to that in a moment. And yeah, thank you very much, let's see, for the raid. Welcome to the raiders. So in the combined standings, as you can see, Wesley is doing exceedingly well. He had a very decent first leg in classical, and then he absolutely destroyed the field in Paris in Rapid and Blitz. He's in a very comfortable position with Livon in second and Shahriar in third. But there are still 3 events to play, 2 for most of the players actually, because everybody skips one event. So there are still plenty of points at stake, and I don't think Wesley, is in any way safe on his perch on top of the leaderboard. So, general impressions about Paris. Wesley too strong is is the obvious first impression. Wesley looked pretty much impervious for the entirety of the tournament. I think he lost 1 game. I did not really check properly, but I think he lost 1 game to Livon in the entire tournament. Can I make it just a little bit louder? I can make it kind of, I don't know how loud it goes, but it's already like 2 decibel louder than it was previously. I can get it even higher. So, not a problem. But I don't know how much it actually changes. Let me know if this made any change at all for you, Strick. It's generally right now a lot louder than I ever have it. And, at least on my stream. So, it should be okay, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, Wesley's performance in Paris was about as perfect as you can expect from a Rapid and Blitz performance. And he looked extremely solid. Made very few mistakes. Lost, as I mentioned, I think he lost 1 game in the 27 games played. And the only person who really challenged him in the race for first was Jan. It is, I think, a little bit of a pity for the tour that it's obviously not a pity for Jan to qualify for the title match, but I think Jan playing the entirety of the tour would have been a very, very exciting thing to watch, because I think he's playing genuinely. I think he's playing the best chess of his life. This season he's become a lot more focused, a lot more centered. Is much less shaken by setbacks, and he remains an unbelievably exciting player to watch. He's really likes fighting chess. Is very, very imaginative. Likes to play fighting openly. So it's a good thing that he played in Paris, and he will also play in Zagreb. And the rest of the field had kind of a varying degree of meh type tournament. If you can, once again, if we bring up the standings once more, with 27 games played, but the rapid games counting double, it's actually 36 points in play. And as you can see, with 36 in play, only 2 people scored more than half the points in play. So, like 8 out of 10 people in the field, if you count Bakro and Kramnik as one player, which is the format GCT is going for, where in the Rapid and Blitz tournaments, some people play only the Rapid and some people play only the Blitz, and they combine to create this one super entity. And in Paris, that was the team of Etienne Bakro and Vladimir Kramnik. Apart from Wesley and Jan, nobody scored above 50%. So I don't think anybody would be particularly happy with the outcome of the tournament. Apart from those two who played exceptionally well, I think maybe Etienne as well. Etienne had a very, very solid showing in the rapid portion. He scored +1 and could arguably even score more than +1 in the rapid portion. And then Vlad had an absolute disaster with his portion, but he was, I think, quite severely under the weather for those 2 days, and at least in part it is explained by him just not being anywhere near his best. So some questions about Paris. I'll also answer the questions I see already. Will never get institutional help from Russian Chess Federation for the world title. He will. I don't know exactly what you mean by institutional help, but I'm pretty sure that the RCF is quite seriously involved in arranging his preparation. I think he has. Russian Chess Federation is not directly sponsoring his bid, but I'm reasonably sure they are involved in helping him find sponsorship. And some deals have been announced, which are, I think, public knowledge. The company Simuland, for instance, apart from the people who are already sponsoring him, Simuland, the company which sponsored the candidates, is now officially supporting his bid. Do you think MVL's 97 was the best move in the tournament? Probably, yeah. There is some competition, and it's kind of finally, from my personal account, the move Bishop takes d7 that Richie Rappert played against me in the Rapid, after which I immediately resigned, also on the d7 square, is also quite a striking move. But I think 97 is still has to be the move of the tournament, and that game was quite something. I mean, MVL was completely and utterly bluffing. It's not like he had a good position out of the opening, but sometimes such bluffs do work. Can you show it? I'm not planning to show any games today because I think, considering the amount of games played, Apache Chief, are we doing just chatting today? Not exactly, no. There will be some. A chessboard will appear pretty soon, don't worry. There is such a volume of things we could have been, looking at, considering that this is, in effect, a 27-round tournament. That I decided to just kind of have a general conversation about it, and we can talk about Zagreb a little bit. I'm playing viewers as the last portion of the show web guide. That will be in about an hour-ish, maybe between half an hour and an hour, depending on how fast puzzles go. So let's talk about Zagreb for a bit. Seems like, apart from the 97 question, I think people kind of know what happened in Paris, and I think I've sort of spoken about Paris as much as it needs to be talked about. What do you think about criticism of GM Norm by Nepo and others? What difference does it make if it's a matter of a few days? I mean, it makes there's two parts to that question, Eric-san. It matters because obviously obtaining the record attracts a lot of publicity and a lot of attention to the young man, and that is very beneficial to him, I assume. I mean, a lot of attention for somebody who is 12 is not absolutely guaranteed to be only beneficial, but generally speaking, it should be to his benefit to become sort of celebrated as the owner of that record. He should get more opportunities this way. He should, perhaps he will find a sponsor. Perhaps he will, find coaching easier or something. So that is definitely good. But the first part, the criticism of GM Norm tournaments, I think the Norm tournaments in Hungary, which is the route chosen by many people. It's not specifically Mishra that did that. They are basically a norm mill. They are created with that specific purpose in mind. And I think Jan's point, even if it, obviously taking away from the incredible achievement of that particular young man, is maybe slightly unfortunate. But Jan's point, I think, absolutely stands. And in an ideal world, the way people get norms might get at some point reward, but we don't really live in an ideal world, so I have no real expectation of that happening. Are you satisfied with your result in Paris? No. I think I was very much in the running for third, and I lost 3 in a row on the last day, and still finished a point away from third. So no, I feel like I could have and should have done better. So let's talk about Zagreb for a bit. This is the lineup for Zagreb. As you can see, in Zagreb there is only 4 people from sort of the main tour participants, and those 4 are MBL, my good friend Alexander Grishuk, Anish, and Shahman Mitarov. I'm not playing Zagreb, as you can see on the screen. And the rest are wild cards. And obviously the one name that is extremely exciting there is placed inconspicuously at the edge there. But yeah, watching Gary play should be an absolute joy. Gary is only playing the Blitz portion. He's teaming up with Ivan Šarić. Ivan will play the rapid portion, and Gary will play the Blitz portion, just as the Bakrok Kramnik team played in Paris. And yeah, thanks very much for the sub to Organic Chess. Welcome to the channel. But even when you say only Blitz, it's still 18 games of Blitz against extremely strong opposition and a very interesting mixed field. So that should be tremendously exciting. And it's also quite relevant for the point standings because in such a mixed field, people can, and Wesley not playing as well, which is kind of relevant. People can try to regain some ground, and the final 2 legs, which are in St. Louis and August, should be extremely close in terms of the overall points standings. And yeah, of course, Vishy playing is very good news. Both in terms of like I really like watching Vishy play chess, but also, you know, I was the beneficiary of him not being able to travel to Paris. So, you know, I personally perhaps cannot complain, and it will be slightly weird for me to complain because I really enjoyed playing in Paris apart from the result. But it's very good to see him compete again. So I'm very much looking forward to watching this. Who do you think is going to win it? In this lineup, you know, if you want to pick a really left field choice, I think one of the Korobov and Duda pair could be a very decent kind of a dark horse bet. I don't think they're exactly favorites to win it. But both Anton and Jan Krzysztof Duda are very exciting players and also very good at short time controls. But I think somebody from the main tour, if I had to absolutely if I had to bet on this and my life depended on it, I would probably choose one out of Shah or MVL. But I think Korobov or Duda would be interesting. Outside bets. Vishy, Vishy hasn't really played in such a long time. I think it will be interesting to see how he returns to the over the board play. But Vishy can never be discounted, obviously. Thanks very much for the bits, guy. Jordan says, you know, screw it. Yeah, Jordan is a good shout, and we do like Jordan, and we've been promoting Jordan on a different channel though, before, you know, it became mainstream. But so yeah, I have, you know, my Jordan credentials are I think unimpeachable, but I don't think I don't think Jordan starts as a favorite in this field. So this is probably enough of why is Fabio? Yeah, if there are questions, I'm very happy to continue talking. Why is Fabio relatively weak at blitz at the top level? I really don't think this is true anymore. I think he's having a bit of a kind of a downswing right now. He's not had the best results recently, and he did not play, I think, anywhere near his best in Paris, for instance. But I think this opinion, it's something that people used to think, let's say, in 2017, and maybe was thereabouts. I'm naming 2017 as a kind of a random year in the past, Nashville and chess. It may have been somewhat true then. I really don't think it is true now. I just think that he is, perhaps, you know, there is a bit of a kind of a fallout from the never-ending candidates tournament, which I think took a lot out of it. But yeah, and as Yash says, Fabian and BL aren't in their best form, and I think it might be a little bit of a kind of a fallout and kind of a general feeling of, you know, I've been extremely tense for about a year and a half, and now I can relax, and maybe this feeling of finally having you know, an opportunity to relax. Perhaps you relax a little bit too much, but yeah, I don't think Fabi is a bad blitz player at all. He took tie breaks off of Magnus. Yeah, I just don't think it's in any way true. So yeah, I'll give you guys a chance to ask some more questions while we're switching scenes. But for now, we'll hang on a second. something up. For now, we'll probably stop talking about general subjects, and I'll show off a little bit of the website. And on that note, I want to attract your attention. There should be a banner running towards the bottom end of the screen, but I want to attract your attention to the fact that for a few hours you can get 30% off on a subscription using the code KTwitch. So that gives you a significant discount on a subscription to the Kasparovchess website. And the Kasparovchess website is content. There's already a great wealth of content, and it's only going to become better because there are Gary masterclasses which are being, I think, Gary recorded. He was in Paris as a spectator and an occasional commentator. He was also there to use the studio and to record the masterclasses for the website. So there is a lot of content on the website, and you currently have an opportunity to get all of that with a very significant discount. So !KTwitch should. I don't know if that actually works. It's been used in chat, but I don't know if it's an actual command. But you can use code KTwitch at checkout if you subscribe today, and that gives you a good deal. So for today, I wanted to solve some puzzles with you. The puzzles are probably going to. We will start with relatively easy ones, and then progress to the ones I'm really not confident I will solve at all. But we'll see. And I also want to include you. So let's see how that goes. So as you can see, this is the look of the website. The play button is on the left. You can't see it because the overlay is prepared for solving puzzles. But we can go into the Learn tab and then go into, for instance, Master Lessons, and you have, as you can see, plenty of content here. You can scroll for quite a long time before you get to the bottom of this, and all of these lessons have, well, not all of them, but many of them. Yeah, I can see some of the viewers of my variety streams are trying the command that worked yesterday. They don't work here, unfortunately, even though they appear to be sorely needed. Apologies for all the sound issues. It really is, like, the microphone is, I need to be careful not to hit my head on it if I move even a little bit. And it's cranked up to max in OBS, and still it seems like there's some issues. Apologies for that. So there's a lot of material, but for today, we'll start with the Jovanka Hauska course on the Anderson make, and solve this, and then we'll proceed to do some perhaps slightly more advanced technical puzzles. Headphones are not connected, they're just hanging here as a fashion accessory. They are not plugged in. As you can see, it says White's king has been abandoned by his horse, and his own attack is just too slow. How did Black end the game in just 3 moves? Queen h4 is a winning move here, but you can do the same thing faster and with checks. And I already have the correct answer in chat. And this will be, I think, the theme of this series of puzzles. It's called Anderson's Maid, and yeah, this one is not very difficult. We go bishop h2 check, we go takes h4, and we go queen h1 mate. This one might be a little bit trickier though. What do we think about this one, chat? I'm actually a little bit confused here. Because what I would think is a solution does not appear to be very clean. I did this honestly, in a way that I chose not to sort of preview the puzzles before the stream so that we can solve them together. And so far, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do. Like, rook takes b4 is a very obvious threat. And, considering this is a puzzle, you definitely want to play either g8 or g6. Perhaps even, both of them in some order. But the issue for me is, if I play g6, black can take with the pawn. Then if I play g8 after that, both rook takes g8 and even king takes g8, I don't really have a follow-up because rook d7 is actually covered by the queen on a4. So this is already quite tricky for me. I'm kind of curious what the in particular because this is in the same group of puzzles as the previous one, and in the previous one we are giving mate with bishop h2, and here it doesn't seem very connected to the same theme. People suggesting c3, I think, are probably trolling a little bit by doing that. Yeah, rook d6 I really like. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. For some reason, that completely evaded my attention, and this is a very, very strong one. I'm pretty sure it's correct. I can tell you why. I'm sort of very happy for you and very unhappy for myself, but I can sort of explain why this move doesn't perhaps immediately spring to mind, because it allows rook takes b4, and it feels like the queen on b2, if you allow rook takes b4, the queen on b2 is dead, and you kind of count the queen on b2 as dead, and because of that, the pawn on g7 in your mind is not as protected as it was before. But it's actually completely irrelevant, because despite the queen being pinned, it of course still protects the pawn on g7. So we can still go rook h8 and rook h6 and rook h8. So that's a very nice solution by Dark Knight, and I genuinely did not see it. I was still trying to give away all of my pawns on the king side, which it distracts black, but it doesn't solve our issues. Somebody suggested playing h5, waiting for rook takes b4, and then playing g8. It's a very imaginative solution. You get points for imagination, but I think if you play h5 here, black probably goes h takes g5, and we are sort of back to the drawing board because we don't have any relevant tactics. Okay, and this is a very strange ordering, because I even sort of hesitate to ask you what to do here, because this is exactly the same puzzle as the one we solved in the first one, right? And it's very simple, whereas the second one really required some thought. So yeah, let's just get to puzzle number 4, because yeah, this one we know. We kind of were interested by the second one, and this one is a variation on the same theme. We just need to give away sort of more valuable pieces, but the theme remains absolutely the same. I have a feeling this might be the Khalifman Serper game, but I'm not 100% sure. There was a very, very famous game played in the early 90s between Alexander Khalifman and Gregory Serper, who was at the time a Soviet player and then emigrated to the States and played as an American chess player for a while. I have a feeling that this is the end of that game, but I'm not going to be let me actually just look this up because it's curious to me, and if I actually guess this correctly, I'll be quite happy. And I can also post the link in chat because, one sec, I know this is perhaps slightly irregular, but you will enjoy looking. You will enjoy looking at the game. Nope, no. It's a different. Of course, it's a different game. I will still post the link in chat though, because you will really enjoy the game. But yeah, I was obviously dead wrong. One sec. This is kind of not what I was planning to do today, but it's a good game, and I think it makes sense to kind of disseminate the joy. Has absolutely no connection with this position, and instead of feeling happy, I feel kind of ashamed. Yeah, we've already solved it. Casual player. Yeah, Queen A7 absolutely is mate in 5. And then we get to the final exercise, and this one is kind of a slightly different version. I wouldn't even say it's exactly the same theme, but it definitely has some connection to the previous examples. And yeah, all of you who are saying H1 are of course absolutely correct. White has some counterplay on the queen side, but that counterplay is not going to be anywhere near fast enough. And we do have a very, very simple idea of giving mate on the H file, which is pretty much unstoppable. I do think, yeah, bishop d3 is not very interesting. One thing I wanted to talk about is the move bishop d3. Because I think after bishop d3 we cannot play bishop g4. Because bishop e6 check, king c7, and rook d7 check, I think wins the game for white. But I think if they play bishop d3 we can just play c5, c4. And we win. But bishop d3, I think here we can continue with bishop g2. We don't care about this check. The very, very big difference, of course, is if white were giving a check from e6 instead of a6, now bishop d5 will be mate. And this is why bishop d3 was much more challenging than bishop d3 here. So this concludes the first batch of puzzles, and the next ones are probably going to be a little bit harder for you and for me as well. Even in this set, I needed chat's help to solve one of them. And these puzzles are in the expert section of the lessons on the topic of attraction by Simon Williams. Simon recorded a decent amount of material for Kasparovchess already, and they should be very, very good, because I think Simon is a very good person for recording teaching material, because I think he is incapable of being boring. I don't think you can give Simon a topic and expect him to not deliver a fun, exciting, vibrant material on it. And Simon on tactics should be absolutely excellent. So these puzzles are slightly more challenging. Let's start with this one. It says, in this position the center is clear and the bishops rule the board. How did white combine them for an attractive finish? It's actually a reasonably long continuation you have to calculate, because against what I assume is the best defense, you have to see an important final touch. And the way to try for me, it would be much more interesting to try and solve and the way I was taught to try and solve puzzles like this is to calculate the entire solution in your mind without moving the pieces. .MC says bishop takes f7, and I think this is the correct solution. I'm pretty sure this is the solution. But I understand it's a lot of typing, but I would like you to tell me what do you think happens after black takes. This is the interesting bit here. Bishop takes f7. Once again, the issue with positions like this being puzzles is that knowing the solution exists helps you so much to find the solution that it's sort of unfair. If you get a position like this in game, nobody is going to whisper in your ear that you are already currently winning if you find a very nice tactical finesse. And then it's very likely that you just walk right past it. And in order to sort of mitigate it, I think you're advised to try and calculate to the end. So we play bishop f7, black takes, we take on e7. Queen c4 check doesn't really do very much in that position. Advice on developing that skill, I think practice really is the only way to develop that skill, as is with most other chess skills. Bishop f7, king h8, we can just take on e8, either immediately or after the trade of queens. It's just a full rook check there. Queen b2 in the end. Okay, you get all of the points over and over here. That I think is a code word I was looking for. I appreciate you don't want to do all of the typing, but I will take that answer. So let's start moving the pieces. We take on f7. We take on e7. Those of you who have already typed this, you are absolutely correct. So why is the whole bunch of puzzles called attraction? In order for rook takes e7 to remove support from the queen on d6 here, we need to attract the king to f7 so that rook takes e7 is a check. We can play it right now, but since it's not a check, black will just take our queen. So we play rook e7 here. And here, exactly, yeah, this is what you need to calculate. Queen takes e7. If rook takes e7, we just take on d6. That's very easy. That's the easy part. But the difficult part is to figure out what's happening in this position. Hey, Bradley. Black could not take with the rook because queen takes a8 wins. Black should take with the king. And in this position, this is what over and over Q was referring to. You actually need to see queen d7 check. Because if you don't see queen d7 check in advance, I think you could be very, very excused to think that the entire combination doesn't work. Because we currently have a rook and a queen, two rooks and two bishops. And if we don't win any material straight away, we're going to be worse, maybe even lost. So we play queen d7 check, and next move we take on d2. And Erickson asks, why is the game over at the end? It's over because I think as with most of puzzles like this, the quote-unquote technical conversion phase is not really that interesting, and also the four moves we made, starting from bishop takes f7 here, are the only moves that win. They are basically mathematically best moves in this position. Once you pick up the bishop on b2 next move, there will be plenty of choices in the conversion phase which will all be winning. Some will be winning slightly faster, but all of them will be winning. So it stops being a puzzle. If a puzzle has like 5 equal solutions or 10 equal solutions, it really isn't a puzzle anymore. And you can't see the tab on the left. Apparently this is a game between Fagi and Ruslan Ponomarev. I must have seen it at one point, but I really don't remember. So let's get to the next one. White just played 9 to 5. The little text says, Black is 2 pawns down and needs to take this decisive action. Can you spot how he did this in emphatic style? Poor Ruslan, always on the wrong end of puzzles. I feel like, yeah, it's a very, very underrated skill to not lose publishable games. Because then they become, you know, what people associate with. The solution here, Bishop f2 attracts me, but I don't know if it wins. I think it does, but you need to calculate sort of further check there. Like, I'm pretty sure I know the entire solution now, but I'll wait until people think for a bit. The issue with Queen G5 is that first of all we're giving away a rook f3, but that wouldn't necessarily be a problem. We can just play King H7, but then White starts trading some of our attackers, and that is actually quite annoying. I have a feeling Knight takes G2 is very, very strong here. So I think, subtracting points from people who are saying Knight G2 feels very unfair. I have a feeling Knight G2 probably wins. I would need to check a little bit, but I think it probably does. Although, once again, this is a puzzle engine, so I can't actually move pieces without the puzzle engine telling me I've done the wrong thing and kind of scolding me, which I don't particularly enjoy. So I'll show you with arrows. If you take on G2 here, White takes, we go Queen G5, King runs to F1, and then if we play Bishop F3, creating a very strong threat of Queen G2 mate, White can actually defend with Knight C3. And also, you always have to remember that the rook on A8, the moment the queen leaves the D8 square here, the rook will start hanging. And if we are actually giving mate, it's not very relevant. But if we aren't, it becomes a problem. People are also very much suggesting Knight H3 followed by King G5, which is understandable and looks kind of interesting. But once again, the king will run to F1. And it will be difficult to get through. And now Shirshirov is coming closer to the actual solution. So let's, we've sort of analyzed blindfold for a little bit. Let me get to the point. Bishop F2, King F2, Queen H4 check. This looks very attractive. And once again, I use the word attractive in a different sense, but once again, the theme of this round of exercises being attraction. Luring the king to F2 so that Queen H4 becomes a check does feel very thematic. And yeah, what Chakradeo typed is absolutely correct. In this position, Shirshirov suggested, sorry, I'm not reading this correct. Shirshirov. Knight G2 would be very strong if once again not for the fact that we have a whole rook hanging on A8 as a check. But Bishop E2 is very, very strong because we once again, lure the rook away from the back rank, and then we give mate by actually including the final piece, which wasn't included in the attack for this whole time, the rook on A8. In order not to get mated on the spot, White is supposed to play King G1 here, but then we take the rook with check, and after King H2, the rook from A8 can go anywhere, and we're just winning both on material and we still have an attack. I used the attraction joke by saying Bishop F2 attracts me, but now the moment has... Yeah, I feel like I should have realized that, and that's on me, Chakradeo. That is very much on me. Alright, I feel like... sorry about that. I'm really struggling with voice issues. I know which opening this is from. But I so far cannot see the solution. I have a feeling like I have something which I think is quite strong, but I don't know if it's winning. Let's talk about the sort of the surface level. We would like to take on 5, But obviously d takes e5 creates a very strong fork, and that is really not great. A lot of people have already suggested rook d2, queen b2, and knight d4, which looks very attractive, but I don't see any kind of a decisive follow-up after either rook e3 or even something like rook a1. Yeah, I think it actually is rook f2, and I think I know why, but this is a kind of a weird one, because actually, like, I'm very tempted to just start clicking because I'm very much into instant gratification, and for me, the biggest problem with solving puzzles is I dislike, sitting and staring at the same picture for very long. So for me, the attraction of starting to click straight away here is very, very strong. But my problem is I don't know what we're doing after king e1 there. Yeah, this is just this is the problem with puzzles. How to refute king e2 is quite simple. And this we all would have solved very, very quickly, right? But my problem was, I saw this position, and I started to calculate rook f2, and I got here. I realized king e2 loses instantly to rook b2, just as we have just seen, and all of you saying rook b2 and c3 are, of course, completely correct. And then I realized I don't actually know how to refute king e1. And once again, unfortunately, I don't think I can make this move here, because this is not an analysis board. This is a puzzle board, which doesn't allow me to make moves. But I think after king e1, it might actually be even more beautiful than after king e2. I think we still take on b2, then we go queen e3 check, and then we go c4, c3. I think this is the solution. Queen g1 doesn't actually win the bishop, because, and what Chakradev is saying is also not winning. It's very kind of unfortunate that I cannot show you, I can only show you there. So if we go king e1, queen g1 check, white plays bishop f1, we take on b2, queen takes b2, we play c3. This was my first idea. And then, unfortunately, white has the move queen b2, f2. For those of you who can follow, we are attacking the bishop on f1 in that position. But queen f2 protects it just in time, and we end up just being a full rook down, and no attack anymore. I'm pretty sure we just lost in that final position. I think actually, as the modes are saying, it's planned down the road. I'm pretty sure most puzzle type engines on most platforms don't actually allow you to move the pieces unless you kind of need to specifically move it to a different type of to a different section of the website. So it's not like there is a mechanism which exists everywhere else which is not implemented on Kasparovchess. I'm pretty sure this is exactly how it works in the industry. But it would be nice if I could play king e1 here, is all I'm going to say. I don't think it's a realistic expectation for the puzzle solver to be also an analysis board. So let's move on. And I think nobody in their right mind goes king e2 here. King e2 just allows rook takes b2. This is very easy to calculate, and it's just a mistake. You should play either king e3 or king e1. Rook e1. So first thing to note is the rook on g3 is hanging. Which is relevant because you would like to take on f6, and we can currently take on f6 because the g7 pawn is pinned. But black will reply by bishop takes g3, and then with the rook gone, the queen is under threat. And most of you have already. Today's chat is very, very strong. And the rook on g3 is kind of trapped, so if we do nothing here, black will just win the material back. We are currently, if you just stupidly count the pieces here, we are currently in exchange up, but the rook on g3 is trapped, and the exchange will be won back. But yeah, rook g7, and then bishop h6 check, and then queen takes f6. And then in the end of that line, we can pick the exchange back up on the one. Is a very, very elegant solution to orange. Do you know if it's handmade puzzles or engine odd puzzles? I don't actually know. I think the official Kasparovchess account might know. I'm not intimately involved in the back end of the website. So some of them I'm pretty sure are. I think when Kasparovchess says handmade, I think what is meant by this is that they are handpicked from practice, because the text on the left side of the board, which you can't see, already identified one of the positions as a position from the Caruana Ponomarev game, which is sort of not handmade, but it handpicked, I think, is probably the way to describe it. Everyone in Twitch chat is a GM. Yeah. And also 15k MMR, and also top 10 legend. All kinds of things. This one is interesting because the solution doesn't immediately occur to me. In particular, if we're supposed to be doing attraction. Rook e1 is the first thing that kind of screams at you to play. But white will take with this rook, and then knight takes will still be met by rook takes, right? This is the issue. If white could only take with this rook, rook takes e1 would obviously be very, very easily winning. But that's not what white will play. So yeah, knight takes h2 is the second thing that comes to mind, but then we need to calculate what happens if white takes. So let's try doing this without actually moving the pieces for a bit. We can take, play rook h6 check. White will play bishop h3 in that position. And we don't have an immediate follow-up. We have some ideas, but we don't have an immediate follow-up. And I think this one is actually difficult enough. Sorry, I need to try to take a drink of water. I mean, I will take a drink of water, I'm just not sure it will help. I will, while we're here, I will mention that apart from knight h2, there is another idea which was quite attractive to me, and I want to mention it. We can play rook h6 here and meet the move h2, h3 with rook takes h3, bishop takes h3, and then queen h6. But I don't think it wins, because after king g2, knight e3 check, and king h2, I don't see any kind of a decisive blow. Knight h2, king h2, bishop g1. Why are we throwing more pieces at the white king? I don't think we need to. I think I know what the solution is by now, but I'm curious if I'm correct or not. Bishop g1 is very interesting, but I think white just ignores it. I think the biggest problem with bishop g1 is that white just plays something like h3. Your point of rook takes g1, rook takes e1, and then the smothered mate on f2, that actually is a very, very cute point. Cobra Sausage and everybody else was suggesting rook g1, Sleepy Mario, and bishop g1 only because I can. Yeah, exactly. It's a very cute move. But the problem with it is that I don't think it creates a strong enough initial threat, allowing white to play something that will perhaps allow them to consolidate. In particular, I'm very worried about h3. So I think the solution is actually knight h2, and then rook h6 check. And in this position, I want to pause. And give you an opportunity to to think what you would like to do here. Because I think I know what we're supposed to do, but I want to give you a chance. Rook takes e1 only really brings the other defender in. I would call Peter for help. Yeah, that would get both of us disqualified, I think. Even though I understand the impulse. Yeah, I think queen e6 is the way to go. And those of you saying queen e6, I very much agree with you. Rook e3 looks very attractive, but I don't think, once again, I don't think it does enough. And also, allowing queen takes d5 with ideas of queen a8 check is actually quite annoying. I think it's just not fast enough. Queen e6 is very strong there. And now after f5, as somebody asked me when we were discussing the very, very first puzzle, this one, how can you be so materialistic when solving a puzzle? This is once again a case of us, in the end, not really giving mate, but we do win back a lot of material with trading queens on the two. And then just doing this. And the white position is in absolute tatters. We are threatening to drop the bishop back and then take on h3 when the king retreats to h1. Even if white somehow does not lose all of the material straight away, like I think king g2 actually keeps the game sort of afloat a little bit. But black is just winning. Even if we do something, extremely materialistic here, such as bishop c5, check, king e3, and just take on b2. Or rook 3 check and then bishop d6, attacking this guy. So we're done. Sorry, we're done with the attraction puzzles, and now we come to the part of the puzzle solving, which I really, really am afraid of, because it's the MVL lesson on studies, and here I really am losing my voice here. Apologies. These are genuinely difficult. And the issue with solving the studies is that here actually, having the puzzle engine make moves for our opponent is extremely useful, because it kind of the biggest trick in positions like this, and this one actually maybe is not the scariest one, but even in this one, the trick is to figure out what the counterplay is. Because I'm pretty sure that most of you, and already I see people remarking that the bishop is sort of misplaced. The material balance is such that if we allow these pieces to escape, we will never ever win this game. Winning the pawn on e5 is also not going to be enough, because rook and knight, I'm pretty sure, makes a draw against knight and bishop. So you want to start harassing those pieces. And if I were solving this on my own, I would be expected to find the solution without moving the pieces, and the biggest trick would be to find the counterplay. So we go rook a2, and we go... I'm not going to play rook g2 here, because I want to ask you guys what you think the counterplay is. I think this is actually maybe the most interesting part of this study for us, if we want to make like a teachable moment out of this. Yeah, this is a position from the lecture by MVL, exactly, yeah, it's a feature of an MVL lesson. So, we definitely will play rook g2 here, attacking both these guys. And it seems like we're just winning, because obviously if we win one of those pieces for nothing, we will have an extra rook for nothing. And black needs to, for some reason the study continues. If it was just rook a2, rook g2, black designs, it wouldn't have been a study. So we need to figure out what the counterplay is. And people are saying attack the knight on g7, but there's really nothing black can use to attack the knight on g7. And the way to create counterplay here is actually to go after this rook, because the rook will get really, really cramped on the g1 square. Really, only move here we can even make is rook e1, because of course we can, like, if this rook gets traded or taken, we never win the game anymore. And now we see what the counterplay is. Counterplay, very, very simply, is to push the pawn all the way to e2, then play knight f1 check or knight e4 check, when we inevitably play king d2, and then pick up the rook on e1. The rook has no squares. The knight on g7, we would very much like to stop e4, e3 from happening here. But the only way to do that would be to play knight f5, allowing knight takes f5, and the rook does not win against the knight, apart from some extremely, extremely corner case scenarios, and this is not one of them. People are saying king d2. Unfortunately, king d2, yeah, and this is now, it's screaming at me that I made a mistake. This allows e4, e3 check, rook takes e3, and knight f1 check. So we have to include the knight in the game. And now we need to figure out how to bring our knight in the game. And over and over says knight e6, knight e4 looks logical, or knight f4. And knight e6 I think is the correct solution. But here there is an extremely, extremely huge reason why you should not be playing this or this move. And that reason is probably in Russian we call it ложный след, the false path. It's a move which looks like a solution, but it actually isn't the solution. If we play knight d4 here or knight f4, they play e2 check, they take with the knight, and then they go knight f1. And in that position, with a full rook up and white to move, we cannot stop the perpetual on these two squares, because the knight from e2 cannot go to any kind of a meaningful square at all. And black will just start giving those checks and it's a draw. And then, if that doesn't work, we have to ask ourselves what possibly could be the winning solution here. And the solution, since we are sort of running a bit late, I will show you what the solution is. We go knight c5 here, because it's extremely important for us to stop the knight from coming to e4. In this position, we have to force black to give a check from f1, not from e4, to take away some squares from the black king. And now we go to c1, and now the knight triumphantly returns to the d3 square. And because we made black occupy the f1 square for to win the rook on e1, we actually win by delivering a checkmate. We started by having an extra rook, and now we are actually pawn down. We're delivering this really, really, elegant mate. Once again, I used to know all of this terminology, but even when I knew it in Russian, not in English. But there is a specific term for chess studies when the final mating position makes use of every single piece on the board. Maybe it's called an ideal mate. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's called an ideal mate. And this is a very beautiful example of just such a mate, where everything you see on the board is very much required for the solution to work. And then we get this one, which I think is, or maybe pure. Yeah, I think it's either ideal or pure. I'm not entirely sure. It says, this odd-looking position appears dead drawn. I don't know why it would appear dead drawn, honestly. Black is, in particular now that they played king f2, which looks like a very poor move, honestly. Ideal mate, pure mate, yeah, using all the men on the board. Thank you very much, Blue Crew. Yeah, that's probably Blue Crew, right? So what do you think could be the winning idea in this position? Like, how do we even create problems with that? Let's start from this viewpoint. What could be what could be the starting point of us, pushing for a win? Yeah, bishop c7, bishop d6 does look extremely attractive. And then I think it just becomes, it's one of those geometrical studies where, like, the whole point of the study is the kind of a fun sequence of the same movement repeated over and over and over again. Bishop e3 check doesn't win, because if we do that and black takes, black can just, first of all, black can actually pick up all of our pawns. But even if black just runs towards the a8 square and allows us to come to c6, we don't win. And bishop h2 is the same angle. If we play bishop h2, takes, and the black king just runs there, it's just a draw. Kasparov solved it. I think this was featured on the Kasparov stream. Yeah, so if some of you have seen that stream, you will be watching this for the second time. Apologies. But these are very nice studies. So we go bishop c7. Let's start with this. And now we go bishop d6. And the bishop, in order to survive, it has to go to f2. And now I think, the point of the study is, we now start this kind of a ladder climb with the king. We go king h2. Black needs to continue supporting the bishop, so the entire construction moves one square up, one square to the left, and then we repeat it again, and again, and again, and again. And it's really not very difficult, but it's a kind of a study which I think is considered quite aesthetically pleasing, because of this sort of a rhythmic nature of the solution, that you just have this repeated motif, which is, why is the pawn on a4 needed? Yeah, this is actually a very relevant question. Without the pawn on a4, king b5 would make a drawing position. And then bishop takes b6 and king takes b6. This is exactly why we're winning and it's not a draw. From before, the black king cannot really get to the a pawns that it needs to get to. And if black plays something like bishop f8 here, bishop takes a7 actually is still a draw because of king takes a5, but we can play king c6 and then king b7, and that will win. So thanks very much, Amaya Chavan. This concludes the puzzle part of the evening, and now we will switch to the bunter setup, and you can and should now start sending all of them challenges.